Can you outwork a bad diet? Most of you have been taught that this is impossible to do. If you're trying to burn fat, you gotta eat right. If you're trying to gain muscle, gain strength, you gotta eat lots of food. Or so this is what you've been taught. I want to ask you the following question, sir. Have you ever actually challenged that statement? Or did you just accept it for what it is because you heard it so many times? Because most guys don't actually think about things critically. So that's what I'll be doing today. I want to address the statement, can you outwork a bad diet? I'll be discussing fat loss, body composition, gaining muscle, strength, all that stuff. So starting off with burning fat. Guess what? Yes, you could outwork your bad diet because what matters in burning fat is being in a calorie deficit. Now, say your maintenance was 2,500 calories, right? And you decide to overeat to 3,000. You should be gaining fat now, right? I mean, if we add it up over 7 days or so, you should have fat gain. Well, guess what? If you do 1-2 hours of cardio, you could burn off those surplus calories, which is going to bring you down to around 2,000 or so. So now you're actually in a 500 calorie deficit. What did you do diet-wise? Nothing. You didn't change a single thing. All you did was work. So what did you do, in a sense? You outworked your bad diet because you were supposed to be in a surplus. You were supposed to gain fat, but you did work, which put you in a deficit. So why do people hold on to the dogmatic belief that you can't outwork a bad diet? Yes, you can. There are tons of ultra marathon runners that are currently doing this. They're eating all kinds of garbage foods, junk foods as a whole, yet they're lean as a motherfucker. They are lean, lean, lean. They can eat whatever they like. I mean, you guys know this. You know that marathon runners could eat as much as they want, right? Yet, why do you believe that diet is the only way to get results? For fat loss, it is definitely not the only way. There are prisoners who are fucking lean as a motherfucker. All they do is they train super hard, right? There are gymnasts who don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to nutrition. There are calisthenics athletes who don't know what the fuck they're doing. There's all kinds of demographics of guys who don't have a motherfucking idea of what proper nutrition is, yet they could burn all kinds of fat. Why? Because they are outworking the bad diet. Now, of course, I'm not recommending this one bit. I do not recommend eating like garbage or just eating a surplus and then burning off the calories like that. To me, that's representative of like an eating disorder of some type, right? And you should correct the root issue, which is the fact that you're not managing your shit correctly. But I would be a liar to say that this can't be done. Because yes, it could be done. You can definitely burn off the fat by doing more work. Another method of manipulating the total daily energy expenditure is by actually not changing your activity level, but actually just delaying the meals. Intermittent fasting is a great way of doing this. You know so many guys who are getting very, very lean, eating whatever they want. Why are they getting this done? Because they are delaying the time at which you're supposed to eat their shitty meal. And I know there's a few YouTubers here and there that I've seen what their diet is. It's fucking terrible. It's a really, really bad diet. They're lacking fruits, lacking vegetables, they're lacking carbs, fat, protein, all that stuff. But because they're delaying their shitty diet to the end of the day, they're actually getting lean in the process. They are getting shredded, eating some of the worst foods of all time. So yes, you could actually outwork the bad diet. I would still call that outworking the diet, because you're not doing anything in terms of the foods themselves. You're just manipulating the time at which you eat your bad foods, you see? So yeah, you have two situations in which it's very clear this could be done for fat loss. Now, what about gaining strength? Again, I would have to say that this is possible. Because what you have to understand is that the number one way to gain strength is to ensure that your programming is correct and that you are not overreaching and having recovery issues. Now, I already proved to you guys in 2016 that an advanced lifter could recomp successfully. I did it for an entire year. I maintained a body weight of 180 pounds, lost fat, gained muscle very, very well. And how did I do it? Through proper programming. My programming was so fucking solid that my body had no choice but to grow. I had no choice but to gain strength. There were many days where I was in a calorie deficit. There were many days when my diet was not perfect per se. Not eating junk food, obviously, but I was not eating as much food as I needed to. Sometimes my macros were slightly off. But guess what? I still made all kinds of strength gains because if your training programming is really, really good, you can actually evade it. And what I mean evade is like, you gotta manage volume and intensity such that your body is not having recovery problems. So you can't overdo it on the volume. If you're doing a 10 by 10, and some days you're in a deficit, you might have some problems. But if you cut it down to like 5 sets of 10, maybe now you can handle it for the work capacity that you have, given your deficit. You see my point? So yeah, for gaining strength, I mean, I would argue that guys can do it to a certain extent. It's not going to be as perfect as if you were eating really good foods. Like it's always going to be better gains if you're in a surplus or like a maintenance. If you're in a deficit, usually you're kind of fucked. But you know, you don't have to have flawless nutrition to make great strength gains. In fact, I think most guys could reach a 500-pound deadlift without really having good nutrition at all. I think if your programming is really, really solid, you can get there just fine. And that's again, I think bodybuilders overhype these things. But if we're talking about gaining strength in the gym, say improving your deadlift 100 max, I don't think it's really necessary to have flawless nutrition. I don't think it's necessary at all, to be honest. Because the programming is what's going to get you the strength gains. Rotating the right movements, specificity of training. That's very, very important if you ask me. Now, what about just eating garbage foods and gaining muscle? Well, guess what? This could be done. It's called dirty bulking. So I don't understand. Like, guys say that you can't gain muscle eating junk food. Yet we know thousands of lifters online, just look it up right now, who dirty bulked and gained all kinds of lean mass in the process. Okay? Of course, they acquired fat as well. They got guts in the process. Yes, they did. They got fat as fuck. But they gained a lot of muscle too. And if you make these guys cut, you will see all the gains that they've acquired. Great example will be a lot of the powerlifters you see. They are fat, yes. But when they get lean, all of a sudden you see all the muscles that they've acquired. So yeah, you can technically eat McDonald's, pizza, Timbits, all kinds of bullshit and get very, very jacked. Now, you're not going to be lean in the process. That's the only thing that you're not going to get. Whereas if you were to do a proper diet, you can gain fat very slowly, so you're still going to look lean year-round for the most part. Or you wouldn't get as fat, yet you would still reap much of the strength and size benefits. But the state that you can't gain muscle eating junk food or just having a bad diet in general is false. If you're in a calorie surplus, right, and you're eating a lot of bullshit, well, guess what? You're still in a surplus. You're still probably going to get a lot of protein and fat in there too, and your carbs is going to be good. It's just that you're going to be overdoing it. Like, your fat's going to be way the fuck up, and of course you're going to gain a lot of size that is not muscle mass. You see, as long as you train hard, you're good. So, could you outwork a bad diet? I would have to say yes. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. I think that most of you guys should be eating clean foods, lots of fruits and veggies, and managing your shit correctly, like a slight surplus, slight deficit. But it would be very biased of me to say that you can't do this, because it's very possible. You can outwork it to lose fat. You can outwork it to gain muscle. You can outwork it to gain strength. It could be done. And we all know those guys that don't give a fuck about their diets. If they're jacked, they're lean, they're strong, etc. because they're doing the things that I mentioned in this video. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to know your feedback down below. Can you outwork a bad diet? Give me your reasoning. And with that, I will talk to you all next time.